Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take a stack of sources, research, and our own notes, then extract the most important nuggets of knowledge or insight, all custom-tailored for you. Today, we're embarking on an incredible journey into Book 2 of the Vishnu Purana, often simply titled The World. Now, for those maybe less familiar, the Puranas are this amazing genre of ancient Hindu sacred texts. They narrate, well, everything: creation, gods, sages, kings. But they also embed these really profound philosophical teachings. And this particular Purana isn't just an ancient text. It's like a cosmic map, a philosophical treatise, and a spiritual guide, all rolled into one. When you think about how different ancient cultures tried to map the universe, few went as deep, I think, both physically and metaphysically, as the Vishnu Purana. It reveals a vision of the cosmos that's just breathtaking in its scale and detail. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, and what's truly fascinating here, I find, is how the Purana just seamlessly weaves together the physical and the metaphysical.
Yeah.
We aren't just learning about geographical places, we're really exploring the why behind them, the karmic implications, the spiritual significance, and this underlying unity of everything. It sets a stage where the geography of the world isn't merely land and sea, but it's a symbolic understanding of divine order, moral law, and ultimately the path to liberation. It's kind of like spiritual cartography.
Right. Our mission today is to take you on that journey, to help you understand this ancient vision of the cosmos, providing those aha moments and hopefully some unexpected insights along the way. We're going to follow the text chapter by chapter in strict order, unraveling its teachings on the universe's structure, its divine inhabitants, and the profound wisdom it holds. This dive should give you a really unique perspective on cosmic existence, ancient thought, and, well, the nature of reality itself. Chapter 1. Priyavrata distributes the continents. Okay, so we begin our deep dive with a glimpse into the lineage of Svayambhu, focusing on his son, Priyavrata. Now, Priyavrata had many sons, but what's immediately striking is the choice made by three of them: Metas, Agnibahu, and Putra. Despite being born into royalty, destined for worldly power, these three chose a path of yoga, of spiritual devotion, rather than sovereignty. The text tells us they remembered their past lives and remained ever selfless, performing sacrifices purely out of propriety, not for any personal reward.
Yeah, the significance of this early renunciation, it really can't be overstated. Right from the very beginning of Book 2, it signals the profound spiritual emphasis of this text, even when it's describing, worldly dominion and dividing up lands. It immediately sets up this idea that true success, or maybe true wealth, might not be what we typically expect. It's a subtle but really powerful message that permeates the entire Purana, valuing spiritual liberation over, say, temporal reign.
That's a crucial foundational idea, definitely. So with those three sons choosing the spiritual path, Priyavrata then divided the world into 7 continents, each given to one of his other 7 great sons. Agnidu received Jambudvīpa, which is a continent we'll get into much more deeply soon. Others received continents like Pakadvīpa, Śālmala, Kushetdvīpa, Krangakadvīpa, Shakadvīpa, and Pukara. It was quite the global distribution right from the start, a world ordained by divine decree, it seems.
Absolutely. And this concept of a divinely ordered world distribution is absolutely crucial. It really lays the groundwork for the highly structured cosmos that we're about to explore, where every part of the world has its place and purpose within this grand cosmic design. It underscores that the universe isn't arbitrary. It's part of a larger divine administration.
And the divisions don't stop there, do they? Anudra, who inherited Jambudvīpa, then further divided his continent among his 9 sons. Navi received the southern region of Himatha, and the central region around the sacred Mount Meru was given to Hilava. Other sons like Kimpura, Haryavarao, Ramya, Hiranvant, Kuru, Vajrava, and Kitamala received these distinct lands in different directions.
And it's worth pointing out the distinct nature of any of these regions, specifically those 8 regions given to Kimpuru and the others. The text tells us that in these realms, achievement was spontaneous, happiness was effortless, and they were free from misfortune, old age, and death. Remarkably, there was no distinction between vice and virtue. And notably, these regions never knew the cycle of ages, Kata, Treta, Dvapara, and Kali. These are those vast epochs or ages that describe the cyclical progression of time, each one seeing a gradual decline in virtue and spiritual awareness. So if we connect this to the bigger picture, these idealized realms are almost like mini heavens on earth, sort of free from the karmic cycles that govern Bhattapado, the region we'll discuss soon. Bhattapado is quite distinct in its spiritual challenges and, well, its opportunities.
That distinction is really key. Okay, focusing now on the region of Himavaya, ruled by Navi. He and his queen Meru Devi had a brilliant son named Ava. Ava, in turn, had 100 sons, with Farada being the eldest. After ruling wisely, King Ava placed his heroic son Farada on the throne, and then he retired to the ashram of the sage Pulaha to undertake these intense austerities. The text describes him wasting away from his practices, growing thin, veins distended, and even taking the path of heroes by going naked and placing a pebble in his mouth, a symbol of, wow, extreme detachment.
Yeah, this introduces the concept of intense spiritual practice and its transformative power, even for kings. It highlights a recurring theme in these texts, doesn't it? That even those who hold immense worldly power often choose to renounce it for a higher spiritual pursuit. It really underscores the ultimate value placed on spiritual liberation over temporal reign, a theme that will become absolutely central later on.
Right. And it's because this very region was given to Bharata by his father when he retired that it became known throughout the threefold worlds as Bharata. Makes sense. Bharata himself had a virtuous son, Sumati, and after successfully completing his own sacrifices, Bharata bestowed the kingdom on his son. King Bharata, who delighted in the practice of yoga, then passed responsibility to his son and drew his final breath at Shilagrama, a sacred place we'll definitely hear about again. The text also importantly notes that Bharata's descendants possessed the land for 71 cycles of the ages, which just highlights the vast spans of time and the cyclical nature of history within the Putiye's cosmic framework. It's mind-bending. That initial division of the world really sets the stage for a deeper look at the central continent, Jambudvīpa, which the Putiya describes in fascinating detail next. So ends Chapter 1 in Book 2 of the glorious Vito Putiya. Chapter 2, Jambudvīpa, Land of the Rose Apple Tree. Okay, picking up from those grand divisions, we now transition into a more detailed cosmic geography, diving deeper into Jambudvīpa. The text introduces this concentric structure of the world, describing 7 continents, each surrounded by a corresponding ocean. And these aren't just, regular oceans. They're made of fascinating substances. Saltwater, syrup, wine, ghee, whey, milk, and finally freshwater. Incredible. Jambudvīpa is right there in the middle, and at its heart is the majestic golden Mount Meru, described as being of immense height and with 84,000 leagues high, 16,000 below Earth, 32,000 across the summit.
The symbolism of these various oceans is quite profound. They aren't just geographical features, are they? They seem to represent different qualities or states of being, moving from the dense materiality of salt water towards the purity and subtler nature of fresh water. And the world itself is described as resembling a lotus flower, with Mount Meru as the seed head, the pericarp, right at its heart. This isn't just a physical description, is it? It's a sacred living image of the cosmos, hinting at its inherent purity and divine design.
Right. Beneath Meru to the south are significant mountain ranges like Himavant, Kamakha, and Nanata. To the north we find Nila, Shweta, and Sugyan. These ranges are vast, consistently 2,000 leagues high and wide. And the 9 regions, or varas, of Jambudvīpa are each 9,000 leagues across. At the very center, surrounding Meru, is the region of Ilafta. This region is home to 4 pillar mountains, Mandara to the east, Gandhamadana to the south, Vipula to the west, and Subarshva to the north. Each is colossal in size, 1,100 leagues high, and crowned with equally colossal trees like the Kadamba, the Jambu, the Pipala, and the Vaida, standing like banners on a mountaintop.
And here's where it gets particularly interesting when we talk about the jambu tree itself. Jambudvīpa is named after this rose apple tree, right? Whose fruits are described as being as large as elephants. Just imagine. And when these colossal fruits fall upon the mountain, they split open and their juices form a river, the Jambudvīpa. Now, this raises an important question, doesn't it? What happens when you drink from such a river?
Well, the effects are quite incredible. The text states that as a result of drinking from the Jambudvīpa, the people there never sweat, they never smell bad, they don't grow old, and they never lose their senses. Their minds are always sharp, like perfect health. And if that wasn't enough, when the mud on the riverbank, coming into contact with this juice, is dried by pleasant breezes, it turns into a type of gold known as jambunada. And this gold is used for making jewelry for the siddhas, the perfected beings.
It's a fantastic example of symbolic geography, isn't it? A place where nature itself bestows perfect health and clarity, producing this divine gold. It's a vision of material abundance directly linked to purity and vitality, showing how the physical world can mirror spiritual perfection, the benefits of purity made manifest.
Beyond these central features, the geography expands further. Regions like Padrava lie east of Meru and Ketumala to the west. Ilafta is in the center. There are also specific forests like Kacharatha and Nandana, and 4 divine lakes are Utoda, Mahabhadra, Asitoda, and Manasa, constantly enjoyed by deities. And at the very summit of Mount Meru, we find Brahma's wondrous city, immense in size, 14,000 leagues across and renowned throughout the heavens. Surrounding it, at all cardinal and intermediate points, are the equally famed cities of Indra and other world-protecting deities.
Placing Brahma's city at Meru's summit is so significant because this is depicted as the very axis of the universe, right? The axis mundi. It's where the divine administration of the cosmos resides. It's the spiritual and administrative heart from which divine order flows out to all the realms.
And speaking of flow, this is also where the sacred river Gologa originates. The text says it flows from the foot of Vutu, first bathing the face of the moon, then cascading from the heavens onto Brahma's city on Meru's summit. Dramatic stuff. From there, it divides and flows in 4 directions, becoming 4 distinct rivers. The Situ flowing east, the Alaknanda south, the Kak west, and the Bredra north. Each then traverses different regions before finally reaching their respective oceans, bringing divine purity to various lands.
This really underscores the divine origin and the purifying power of Galga, linking celestial cosmology directly with terrestrial sacred geography. It's not just a river, it's presented as a celestial conduit of divine grace that purifies the earthly realms. It highlights the reverence given to natural phenomena as manifestations of the divine.
To tie it all together, the Puran reiterates that lotus analogy. Meru as the seed head, and the regions like Bharatas, Ketumalas, Bhadravas, and Kurus as its petals. It also mentions other barrier mountain ranges like Kailasa and Pariyatra. The delightful valleys, forests, and cities within these ranges are depicted as heaven on earth, inhabited by various celestial and semi-divine beings, Siddhas, Karantyas, Kinnaras, Gandharvas, Yakas, Nagas, Daityas, and Danavas. And they are said to be completely inaccessible to evildoers. Finally, we learn about Vyap-specific forms in these different regions. Hayajeras, the horse-headed form in Bhadrava, the boar in Ketumala, the tortoise in Bharata, and the fish in the Kurus. But the text makes it clear that Janardana, or Vyap, is universally present, the master of all, the foundation and heart of everything. And in those other 8 regions of Jambudvīpa, those beyond Bharatavara, there's an absence of pain, fatigue, anxiety, hunger, and calamities. Their inhabitants live for 10 or 12 millennia, don't need Indra's reign, and are not subject to the cycles of ages. Sounds like quite a paradise. Now let's zoom in on one of these crucial regions, the one that isn't quite paradise, but holds immense significance. So ends Chapter 2 in Book 2 of the glorious Vipura, Chapter 3, the land of Bharata. Okay, now we shift our focus specifically to Garthavar, the land we generally associate with India today. The text describes it as being north of the ocean and south of the Himalaya, spanning 9,000 leagues across. It's presented as a unique and profoundly significant region in the whole cosmic scheme.
And this is a critical distinction. The text explicitly states, from Bharata, heaven, liberation, somewhere in between, or an end are possible. No other region is given to the deeds of mortals. This is really a key insight into karmic destiny, isn't it? It elevates Bhartavara to a central stage for spiritual evolution. It's the only place where deeds, or karma, can lead to ultimate liberation, or conversely, to animal birth or the hell realms. It highlights the immense spiritual potential, but also the great responsibility of being born in this particular land.
Within Bharata, 7 principal mountain ranges are listed, including Mahendra, Malaya, Saya, Suktimat, the Parvata, Vindhya, and Pariyatra. The land is further divided into 9 divisions, like Indradvupa and the Gadvupa. It mentions various inhabitants. For instance, the Kiratas are found in the east, the Yavanas in the west. And in the center are the 4 traditional social orders, or Varnas, Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras, each with their defined roles.
Right. The description of this social structure, with Brahmins engaged in sacrifice and study, Kshatriyas in warfare and protection, Vaishyas in commerce and agriculture, and Shudras in service, it shows a clear societal blueprint embedded within this cosmic geography. It emphasizes the importance of each order fulfilling its specific duties, or dharma, contributing to the overall societal and cosmic balance.
The Purat then names a multitude of major rivers flowing from each mountain range. From the Himalaya come rivers like Satadru and Kandavaga, from Pariyatra, the Badazmi, from Vindhya flow Narmada and Surasa, from Kamtati and Payos, from Saya we find Godavari, Bhimarati, and Katsema, from Malaya, the Katawa and Tamra part, from Mahendra, Trisama, and from Sectamantai Kulya, few. And of course, thousands of smaller streams abound, supporting diverse peoples across the land. Kurus, Panyalas, Magadhas, Saudaidas, Hutus, Palasikas, many others, all enjoying prosperity and drinking the waters of these life-giving rivers.
And here's the truly crucial point about Bharatapado, reiterating what we touched on earlier. Here in the region of Bharata, the fourfold ages of Kata, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali are experienced, great sage, but nowhere else. This is incredibly significant as it emphasizes Bharata as the sole stage where the drama of human existence, with its cycles of virtue and decline, its challenges and opportunities for spiritual growth, truly plays out across vast spans of time. It's the land of karmic consequence and spiritual unfolding. Nowhere else has this.
It truly is. The text tells us that ascetics, devout individuals, and those making donations do so specifically for the sake of the next world. And Vito, the spirit of the sacrifice and practice itself, is worshipped through rituals primarily in Jambudvīpa, and more specifically through sacrificial action in Bharata. The other continents, by contrast, are described as being set on pleasure, and don't offer the same opportunities for this kind of karmic evolution or targeted spiritual practice.
Right, and the deity's song about Bharata is particularly fascinating and really elevates human birth here. They sing, "More fortunate than the gods are those who live in Bharata, the land that leads to heaven and beyond." Dedicating all their practice, never thinking of reward, to Vishnu, the highest spirit, and having reached that land of sacrificial action, they go forth unstained to liberation. This elevates human birth in Bharata to this uniquely privileged position for spiritual advancement, far beyond even the temporary pleasures of heaven. It profoundly emphasizes the concept of karma and liberation being paramount, because even the gods desire to be born in Bharata to achieve final release. It's quite something.
A powerful testament to the land's spiritual significance, absolutely. And as we learned, Jambudvīpa, containing Bharata, is ringed by that ocean of salty water. From this central continent, our cosmic journey now expands outwards again, describing other wondrous realms. So ends Chapter 3 in Book 2 of the glorious Vishnu Purana. Chapter 4, Plakṣa and the other continents. Okay, our cosmic journey continues outwards. Just as Jambudvīpa is encircled by an ocean of salt water, that ocean is, in turn, surrounded by the land of Plakṣa, the land of the pipal tree. The Purana establishes this beautifully symmetrical design. Each continent and its surrounding ocean are twice as wide as the one they enclose. It creates this nested, expanding universe structure.
Yeah, the implications of this expanding scale are profound, aren't they? It signifies the vastness of the cosmos as understood by the Purana. It's a universe of immense layered proportions, moving outwards in this structured, deliberate progression, each layer seemingly representing a different quality or state of being.
Let's explore the character of each of these outer continents as the text details them. We won't list every single sun or mountain range, but focus on the unique characteristics. First, Plakṣa. Named for the pipal tree, it's twice as wide as Jambudvīpa. Its inhabitants are described as blameless, living long, pain-free, and illness-free lives. Critically, it's always like the Treta age, which is that second, highly virtuous age. Its four orders of society worship Soma, the moon, in the form of Hari. Plakṣa is then ringed by a sea of syrup. Imagine that.
A sea of syrup. Amazing.
Then Śālmala. This land of the cottonwood tree is twice as wide as the sea of syrup it encircles. It boasts mountain ranges, notably Mount Trello, a great source of healing plants. Its communities worship everlasting Vione in the form of Vayu, the god of winds. A great cottonwood tree here is said to bestow perfect bliss. This continent is ringed by a sea of wine.
Wine this time. Getting progressively richer, maybe?
Maybe. Next, Kushadvipa. Named for Kusha grass, this continent is twice as wide as the Sea of Wine. It's inhabited by various divine and semi-divine beings, deities, daityas, danavas, gandharvas, yakas, kimpurus. Its four communities worship Janardana in the form of Brahma, specifically to abandon deeds that would otherwise result in further tedious duties, which means essentially aiming for liberation from the cycle of rebirth. This land is ringed by a sea of ghee, clarified butter.
Ghee, often used in rituals. Interesting symbolism there.
Then comes Kushadvipa. This land of cranes is twice as wide as Kushadvipa. Its mountain ranges are unique in that each is twice as high as the preceding one, creating this dramatic ascending topography. Mount Kranjikit itself is central, as four communities worship Janardana in the form of Rudra. It's ringed by a sea of whey, or curds.
Curds, okay. The progression is fascinating.
Next is Sakadvipa. Named for the teak tree, This continent is twice as wide as Jambudvīpa. It's a land where virtue is never lacking, and inhabitants are free from jealousy. It features a giant teak tree whose scent perfumes the land. Its 4 communities worship Vishnu in the form of Surya, the sun. This continent is ringed by a sea of milk.
Milk, often associated with purity and nourishment.
And finally, the outermost continent, Plakṣa. Named for the banyan tree, it's twice as wide as Jambudvīpa. It's uniquely divided by a single, colossal circular mountain range, Manasatara, 50,000 leagues high and wide. Its inhabitants live for 10 millennia, free from sorrow, disease, enmity, and passion. There are no concepts of worse or better, no killers, no jealousy, envy, anger, greed, or malice. All resemble deities. There's no need for social codes or the practice of virtue. It's just inherent. Brahma's preferred abode is the banyan tree here. Plakṣa is ringed by a sea of fresh water.
It's really interesting to reflect on the progression from Bharta to Bharta, with its cycles of ages and potential for both suffering and liberation through diligent spiritual practice to these outer continents. They seem progressively more idyllic, don't they? Yet also, perhaps paradoxically, less conducive to the specific spiritual striving seen in Bharta. This raises an important question. Why are these realms described as so perfect, yet the ultimate goal, liberation, seems to be a specific achievement primarily possible from Bharta? It seems their very perfection and lack of friction means a lack of the kind of spiritual grit needed for ultimate freedom, perhaps.
That's a fascinating point. The struggle seems necessary. And the vastness described doesn't end there. Beyond the freshwater ocean, the text speaks of a land of gold, twice as wide as the ocean, yet bereft of life. Then comes the Lokalika mountain range, 10,000 leagues high and wide, a boundary beyond which lies utter darkness. Finally, everything is contained within the shell of the cosmic egg, with the entire universe described as immense in scope, 500 million leagues across.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this is a layered structure of the cosmos beyond the egg itself. It's surrounded by water, then fire, wind, and space, each layer 10 times wider than the last. These fundamental elements are then enclosed by Mahat, the elemental principle of greatness or universal intellect. And Mahat is then enclosed by primal matter, Pratyay, which is described as infinite, endless, and immeasurable, the underlying cause of all phenomena. It's a vision of nested realities, where each layer represents a progressively subtler and more fundamental principle of existence, culminating in Pratyay.
And it culminates in this profound philosophical statement. Just as fire is latent in wood and oil is latent in a sesame seed, so too all-pervasive prince, elemental spirit, or pure consciousness is inherent in matter in the form of self-manifesting consciousness. It implies this inherent divine spark within all existence, doesn't it?
Absolutely, a fundamental unity.
From these vast layered continents, we now turn our gaze downwards to the realms below the earth. So ends Chapter 4 in Book 2 of the glorious Vishnu Purana. Chapter 5. The Lower Realms. The Serpent Shell. Having ascended through the continents and the vast expanse of the cosmos, we now descend, moving from the terrestrial and celestial realms to the subterranean. The Purana introduces 7 lower realms, each descending 10,000 leagues deep below the earth. These include Atala, Vitala, Mitala, Gabastamad, Mahakya, Sutala, and the foremost, Patala. Their surfaces are varied and described with beautiful detail: white, black, brown, yellow, sand, stone, and gold, all adorned with gracious mansions.
Yeah, what's truly fascinating here is how these realms are described. They aren't grim or terrifying, are they? They're depicted as magnificent. The sage Nada, having visited these lower realms, apparently declared amid the gods' assembly that they were even more magnificent than those above. This really challenges typical Western notions of an underworld, or hell, presenting a place of unexpected splendor and delight.
Indeed. These realms are inhabited by clans of Danavas and Daityas, these powerful, sometimes adversarial beings, and mighty Nagas, serpent deities, often linked with wisdom and wealth. Their life there is one of indulgence and delight. They wear exquisite jewelry with lovely gems and are surrounded by beautiful Danava and Daitya girls. The sun's rays shed light without heat, and the moon's light is bright yet isn't cool. They were addicted to entertainments, reveling in food, drink, and other pleasures. The descriptions are really lush. Forests, rivers, beautiful lakes, lily pools ringing with the calls of coal cocks, brilliant decorations, rare scents, and the enchanting sounds of lute, pipe, clarion, and tabor. It sounds quite appealing, honestly.
It does sound appealing. It presents a realm of intense sensory delight, a constant state of enjoyment. However, it implicitly raises a different kind of spiritual challenge, doesn't it? A realm of sheer indulgence, which, while not a hell in the punitive sense, might lead to a different kind of spiritual stagnation. Just due to the sheer absence of any impetus for growth or self-reflection, it's a place of material perfection, but maybe potential spiritual inertia.
Good point. And beneath these delightful lower realms lies a truly awe-inspiring entity, the mighty serpent Sia, also known as Ananta, the Endless One. He is described as a darker form of Yon, whose qualities are so immense that even Danavas and Daityas cannot fully describe them. Sia has 1,000 heads, bears the swastika mark, and myriad jewels on his hood shine forth blazing like a hill of silver flames. He's clad in blue, wild with bliss, wears a pearly necklace, and rears up like cloud-capped Kailasa with the river Gauga flowing down his flanks. He wields a mace and plowshare and is attended by the goddess Varud. Just incredible imagery.
Absolutely. If we connect this to the bigger picture, Sia is not just some mythical beast. He is the cosmic support, the very foundation of the universe. He embodies the endless, imperishable nature of the divine. And crucially, the text states that at the end of every eon, Rudra, who is one with Sathardayana, emerges from Sia's mouths, ablaze with fire and venom, to devour the threefold worlds. This shows his immense power not just in sustaining creation, but also in its ultimate dissolution. He is a powerful symbol of both creation and destruction, the beginning and the end.
His might is indeed incomprehensible. He bears the entire universe like a crown upon his head, resting beneath Patala, worshipped by all deities. When Ananta yawns and flashes his eyes with fury, the earth, mountains, waters, and forests tremble. His name Ananta signifies his imperishability and endlessness, due to the constant praise he receives from celestial beings. The ancient sage Garga even gained true knowledge of astrology and omens by worshipping Sia, linking him to profound cosmic wisdom. From these magnificent subterranean realms, we now turn to a starkly different kind of underworld. So ends Chapter 5 in Book 2 of the glorious Vishnu Purana. Chapter 6, the Hell Realms. Okay, from the surprisingly magnificent lower realms of Patala, we now turn to a stark contrast, the truly dreadful Hell Realms, called Naraka. The Purana names a multitude of these places of suffering, a chilling list indeed.
Raurava Sukara Rodha Tala Vishesana Mayevala Taptakungba Lavar Viluita Rutiramvas Vaitara Kimsha Kimifoyana Sipatravana Kamas Alavahaka Taru Puyavaha Papa Vanivala Hashar Sazasha Kesutra Tamas Avisi Juavana and Apaktirha. Many hells?
Yeah, the text makes it very clear that these are realms of dreadful suffering for the wicked, filled with fearsome fires and weapons and Yama's dominion, the Lord of death and justice. And this naturally prompts us to consider what actions actually lead to these specific punishments. The Purana provides incredibly precise karmic associations for many of them, creating a really detailed system of cosmic justice.
And it does with startling detail. It's quite graphic. For instance, the hell of Raurava, fearful, is reserved for a dishonest witness, someone who lies or utters any falsehood. Rodha, suppression, awaits those who perform abortions or kill their guru or kill a cow or even strangle someone. For those who drink liquor, kill a Brahmin or steal gold, along with their accomplices, their Sukara, swine. The palm tree Heltala is for killing a Kshatriya or Vaishya or violating the guru's marriage bed. The heated cauldron, Taptakumva, is for molesting one's sister or killing a royal emissary. Red-hot iron, Taptaloha, awaits purveyors of virtuous women, prison guards, horse traders, and those who forsake their devotees. Mahavala, great inferno, is for violating one's daughter or daughter-in-law or disrespecting gurus. Lavan, the salty hell, is for reviling or selling the Vedas or improper sexual contacts. Vimoha, confusion, is for thieves or those crossing moral boundaries. Those who despise deities, Brahmins, or their father or damaged gemstones fall into Kumiva Kum for food. Kumbisha, insect hell, is for black magic practitioners. Alobako, saliva for food, is for those who eat before offering food to their father, deities, or guests. Vedaka, piercing, awaits arrow makers. Vishasana, vivisection, is for manufacturing barbed missiles, swords, and other weapons. Adhomukha, upside down, is for accepting improper gifts, sacrificing to unworthy beings, or pointing at constellations with ill intent. Puyavaha, the river of Puss, awaits headstrong men, those gorging alone, Brahmins selling forbidden items like meat or wine, or feeding certain animals improperly. Rudiranda, the well of blood, is for actors, fishermen, those marrying bastards, poisoners, informers, those prostituting their wives, Brahmins having sex on abstinence days, arsonists, murderers of friends, fortune-tellers, and those sacrificing for rustics or purveying soma improperly. The dreaded Vitade, hard to cross, is for destroyers of beehives or villages, trespassers or those obsessed by wealth or youth. Kanda, the black hell, is for debauchees and liars. Sipatravana, the sword-leaf forest, is for those who cut down trees for no good purpose. Vanivala, blazing fire, is for shepherds, deer hunters, and potters firing kilns. Sadasha, the hell of pincers, is for breaking vows or shirking one's duties. And Svabhujana, dogs for food, awaits religious students who ejaculate while napping, or those learning scriptures from children inappropriately. It's incredibly specific.
It's clear that the Purana details an incredibly precise, almost exhaustive system of karmic consequences, isn't it? Just as these and other misdeeds number in the myriad, the text says, there are myriad hell realms to be suffered by the guilty. It emphasizes that those who perform actions contrary to the duties of their order or stage of life, whether in thought, word, or deed, all go to hell. But this is part of a larger, cyclical nature of existence. It describes a hierarchy. Immobile things, insects, fish, birds, animals, humans, sages, the 13 great deities and liberated beings. Each successive stage is 1,000 times as good as the one before. All beings must pass through these stages, potentially experiencing these hells based on their actions, until finally attaining liberation.
And the contrast is so stark. The text says, those condemned to hell look up at gods in heaven, then hang their heads, while gods look down on all those suffering beings. It paints a really vivid picture of the consequences of action and the different destinies beings face based on their karma.
But, and this is where it gets particularly interesting, the Purana offers a profound solution amidst this detailed karmic accounting. Meditation on Vyo as the ultimate atonement. After detailing all the specific sins and hells, the text proclaims that setting one's heart on Hari or Katan is superior to every other penitence, including austerity and sacrifice. That's a huge statement.
That's a powerful statement of faith, absolutely. One who sets his heart on Narayan morning, noon and night, and at dawn and dusk, is at once absolved of all his sins. It's stressed that recalling Vino leads directly to liberation, so much so that even heaven is accounted an impediment for such a person. Because heaven is still temporary, right? Not the ultimate release.
Exactly. And this also leads to a really deep philosophical insight on pleasure and pain. The Purana states, heaven is that which delights the mind, and hell its opposite. Nothing is in essence painful or enjoyable, only responses in our minds are marked by such sensations. It's a recognition of the subjective nature of suffering and joy, rooted deeply in the mind's perceptions and attachments.
And it introduces a crucial concept about knowledge itself. Knowledge alone is the highest absolute, but knowledge also binds us. This whole world consists of that, to which nothing is superior. That's something to mull over. From these depths of Naraka, we now dramatically ascend to the highest spheres of existence. So ends Chapter 6 in Book 2 of the glorious Śālmala, Chapter 7. The upper spheres, the power of Vishnu. All right, from the depths of the hell realms, we now ascend dramatically to the upper spheres of the cosmos. Our journey begins with the earthly realm, Loka, and then the sky realm, Loka, which is inhabited by Siddhas, perfected beings, and sages, situated between the earth and the sun. The Purana then meticulously details the planetary system, Svarloka, layer by layer, with incredible distances given in leagues. The sun is 100,000 leagues above Earth, the moon, 100,000 leagues above the sun, the lunar mansions, or nakshatras, 100,000 leagues beyond the moon, Mercury, 200,000 leagues beyond the lunar mansions, Venus, 200,000 leagues beyond Mercury, Mars, 200,000 leagues beyond Venus, Jupiter, 200,000 leagues beyond Mars, Saturn, 200,000 leagues beyond Jupiter, the seven sages, Ursa Major, 100,000 leagues beyond Saturn, and finally Dhruva, the pole star, 100,000 leagues above the seven sages, described as the hub around which the wheel of heavenly bodies turns.
Yeah, what's truly fascinating here is the precise hierarchical structure, isn't it? Culminating in Dhruva, the pole star, as the unmoving axis of the celestial mechanics. It's not just a poetic image, but presented as a foundational principle around which the entire celestial dance revolves, providing stability to the cosmos.
The journey continues upward to the higher, more enduring spheres, Maharaloka, 10 million leagues above Dhruva. This is where sages live for an entire eon, which is why it's called unmoving. This realm is vacated at the end of every eon, but not entirely destroyed. Janaloka, 20 million leagues higher than Mahaloka, home to Sanandana and Brahma's other pure-minded sons, Tapaloka, 4 times higher than Janaloka, so 80 million leagues above Janaloka. This is the sphere of austerities, inhabited by the fire-resistant Vairaja gods, Satyaloka, 6 times higher than Tapaloka, a staggering 480 million leagues above Tapaloka. This is the sphere of truth, where its denizens never die again, thought to be Brahma's own eternal realm.
This passage is crucial for understanding the cosmic hierarchy. It draws a clear distinction between transitory realms, Burloka, Bhuvarloka, and Svarloka, which include our earthly and planetary systems, and the enduring realms of Janaloka, Tapaloka, and Satyaloka, which are more permanent beyond the cyclical destructions. Maharloka holds that unique position, being vacated but not destroyed, acting as a kind of transitional space for beings between cycles.
Right, and all these realms, from the lowest hells to the highest heavens, are enclosed within the shell of the cosmic egg. This cosmic egg, in turn, is surrounded by those concentric layers of elements, each progressively wider than the last. Water, 10 times the egg's width, then fire, 10 times water's width, then wind, 10 times fire's, then space, 10 times winds, and then the fundamental subtle elements, 10 times spaces. All of this is enclosed within Mahat, the elemental principle of greatness or cosmic intellect. And Mahat itself is ultimately contained within primal matter, or Prakriti, which is described as infinite, endless, and immeasurable, the underlying cause of all phenomena.
Exactly. If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is a beautifully nested cosmology where each layer represents a progressively subtler and more fundamental principle of existence, culminating in Prakriti. And then the text brings in the Pus, or elemental spirit, which is pure consciousness, inherent in matter, just like fire is latent in wood or oil in a sesame seed. It highlights the divine essence woven into the very fabric of existence, from the grossest to the subtlest levels.
This brings us to the ultimate source of all this, the power of Vyant. The text explains that both matter, Prati, and spirit are mutually dependent and enveloped by this power of Vyant, which is at the heart of all creation. This power is the very cause of their separation and their interdependence, and crucially, it's the cause of their initial stirring at the moment of creation. It's the prime mover.
The Buddha uses a striking analogy here. Just as wind raises ripples by the 100 on the surface of the water, in that same way the power of Vidun agitates both matter and spirit. And it continues with the tree from seed analogy, how elemental phenomena give rise to gods and other beings, who then have offspring, all without diminishing the primal elements, much like a new tree doesn't diminish the parent seed. It's a powerful illustration of creation from an undiminished source, isn't it?
It really is. This underscores Vyant as the unchanging cause of everything, using another powerful analogy. All parts of a rice grain, the root, stalk, leaf, and even further grains, are latent in a single grain and appear when the conditions for growth arise. Similarly, gods and other beings arise when they encounter Venu's energy.
This prompts us to consider the nature of ultimate reality. The text states that Vishnu is the supreme absolute from whom all this arises. The world abides in him and is absorbed in him. It deepens this by explaining, he is the manifest form of both the root and the nature of the world. He is the world. In him the world concludes. On him the world relies. It's a completely all-encompassing vision of divine omnipresence. He is everything.
And to reinforce Vishnu's all-encompassing nature, the Pura declares, he performs the sacrifice. He is the sacrifice that's offered. He is the sacrificial outcome. He is the ladle and utensils with which it's carried out. Nothing is apart from Hardy. It leaves no room for doubt. Moving from these highest philosophical principles, let's now explore the very mechanics of the cosmos, focusing on the sun. So ends Chapter 7 in Book 2 of the glorious Vishnu Purana. Chapter 8, the movement of the sun, time, the heavenly paths. We've journeyed through the lower and upper realms, and now we descend from the highest spheres to the intricate mechanics of the sun, the very essence of time, and the spiritual paths traced in the heavens. The text provides this incredibly detailed description of the sun's carriage. It's colossal, 9,000 leagues long, with a shaft twice as long and an immense axle measuring 15.7 million leagues. To this axle is fixed a wheel, an eternal wheel with 3 hubs representing divisions of the day perhaps, 6 fellies, seasons, and 5 spokes, cycles of years. This wheel forms a year and carries the entire cycle of time. It also has a dual axle system, one resting on the pole star, Dhruva, and the other on Mount Manasa.
Yeah, what's fascinating here is the imaginative yet precise detail provided, which are even compared to an oil mill in the text notes, a common machine in ancient India for pressing oil. It gives a sense of relentless cyclical motion, and the 7 horses of the sun's carriage are beautifully identified as the Vedic meters: Gayatri, Bhuhati, Utse, Jagati, Tarav, Anuphuv, and Pakti. This symbolizes the power of sacred sound, the very fabric of the Vedas, driving the cosmic luminary. It's not just physical motion, it's powered by divine speech.
The Pura also names the 4 cities of the world guardians on Mount Manasotara, which the sun circles. Indra's city, Baswadhara, to the east, Yamasayamani to the south, Varuch's Nimlokani to the west, and Soma's Vibhavari to the north. The sun's movement is described such that it's always overhead at midday on one continent, while on the diametrically opposite one, it's midnight. It doesn't truly rise or set, but merely appears and disappears from view, illuminating specific cities and points based on its position relative to these guardian cities. For example, sunrise at Indra's city means midday at Yama's, sunset at Varuda's, and midnight at Soma's.
Right, and the text offers that fascinating and poetic explanation for observable phenomena. When the sun sets, its brilliance enters fire, which is why fire is brighter at night, and vice versa when the sun rises. Similarly, the ocean absorbs the night by day, appearing dark, and absorbs daylight at night, appearing brighter. This raises an interesting question. How does this ancient text weave myth with such keen observation, providing these symbolic, almost energetic explanations for natural occurrences? It's quite beautiful.
It truly is a blend of cosmology and poetic insight. The Purana then details the sun's northern passage, Uttarayana, starting from Capricorn, Makara, through Aquarius, Kumbha, and Pisces, Meena, and its southern passage, Dakinyana, beginning in Cancer, Karkaya. This explains how the passages affect the length of day and night. It uses the analogy of a potter's wheel. The sun moves faster on its southern passage, traversing a greater distance outer circuit in the same amount of time, making the days shorter. Conversely, it moves slower on its northern passage, taking the same time to traverse less space, inner circuit, making the days longer. This detailed observation of the sun's apparent movement and its effect on day length showcases the Purana's synthesis of ancient astronomy and spiritual meaning. It connects celestial mechanics directly to the lived experience of time, highlighting the interconnectedness of cosmic and earthly rhythms, which is clearly well understood. The text also introduces the concept of Sandhya, or twilight, and these terrifying Mandeha Rakasas, demonic beings, who attempt to swallow the sun each day at sunrise and sunset. Brahma, the Lord of creation, cursed these Rakasas so they would die daily but never be utterly destroyed, creating this perpetual cosmic battle between light and darkness. And this is where the role of Brahmins becomes crucial. By chanting the sacred syllable or, consecrated with the Gayatri mantra, and sprinkling water upwards, they turn that water into thunderbolts that destroy these wicked beings and protect the sun.
It's a profound myth, isn't it? Illustrating the constant cosmic battle between light and darkness and the immense power attributed to sacred ritual in maintaining cosmic order. The text emphasizes that the syllable O is Lord Vishnu, the essence of the Vedas, and it causes the sun to move. Failing to perform these Sandhya rituals is considered tantamount to murdering the sun, underscoring the deep connection believed to exist between human action and cosmic stability.
The Purana then meticulously details the divisions of time. 15 nimes, blinks of an eye, make one kaika. 30 kathais make one kaila. 30 kailas make one muhurta. And 30 muhurtas make one day and night, ahoratra. It explains the varying lengths of day and night, how they swallow each other throughout the year, and that twilight, Sandhya, always lasts one muhurta. Morning, forenoon, midday, afternoon, and evening are defined in terms of muhurtas. Equinoxes occur when the sun is in Libra, Tula, and Aries, Mea, in mid-autumn and mid-spring, making day and night equal. It even describes 5 kinds of years, Savatsara, Parivatsara, Advatsara, Anuvatsara, Vatsara, that constitute one yuga or 5-year cycle.
So what does this all mean for the spiritual practitioner? The precision of ancient time measurement and its connection to cosmic cycles highlights the belief that the precise timing of rituals and offerings at equinoxes, solstices, full moons, new moons is believed to optimize their efficacy and give rise to an opening to the gods. It integrates human spiritual practice directly into the cosmic flow.
We also learned about the Loka mountain again, the boundary mountain, where 4 global guardians reside, Kardama's sons, Suhaman, Shokapad, Hirancharoman, and Ketument. They are described as indifferent to extremes, free from pride, vigilant and unencumbered, facing the four directions. The text then outlines two important heavenly paths for the departed souls. The Pitayana, or the Path of Ancestors, is located north of Canopus, Agasya, and south of the Path of Aristoros, Ayurvedi, beyond the Path of Vajrayana. This is where great sages maintain sacred fires, re-establish Vedic tradition, and endure until the world's destruction. Then there's the Devayana, the Path of Gods. This lies north of the Path of Aristoros, south of the Great Bear, Saptarne, and north of the Sun's Path. It is inhabited by chaste, stainless Siddhas, 88,000 ascetics, who have conquered death. They are free from greed, sexual union, desire, and misapprehension, and are immortal until the world is destroyed.
It's a profound contrast, isn't it? The Pitayana seems to be for those who perform rituals and maintain lineage duties, leading perhaps to a temporary heavenly abode associated with ancestors, while the Devayana is for renunciates who seek liberation, a state beyond rebirth, enduring until universal dissolution. It illustrates different spiritual trajectories based on one's ultimate goal and practices.
Right, and the ultimate destination discussed is the realm of Vishnu, the third division of the sky, stretching from north of the Great Bear to the pole star, Dhruva. This is described as the highest state for self-controlled ascetics, where vice and virtue are no more, and the cause of further birth is gone. It's the place of ultimate liberation.
This is truly the ultimate destination, the state beyond duality, where Dhruva and other cosmic witnesses reside, blazing in union with divine majesty. It is described as the warp and weft of all creation, knowledge, and discernment, the very fabric of ultimate reality.
And Dhruva, the pole star, plays that central role here. All heavenly luminaries and water-yielding clouds depend on him, circling him. This leads to the rain that nourishes all creation. The gods themselves are sustained by butter oblations offered in sacrifices, and in turn, they send rain for the further sustenance of the world, linking cosmic order directly to human spiritual practice in this reciprocal way. Finally, the Purana revisits the origin of the Goga. It elaborates on its celestial flow. Originating from Vishnu's big toenail in his Amana avatar, devoutly borne by Dhruva on his head, passing through the moon, said to remove its stain from previous associations, then cascading onto Mount Meru's summit, and finally flowing in those four directions as the Sita, Alakananda, Kako, and Padma rivers.
And this passage emphasizes Shiva's crucial role in bearing the Alakananda branch on his head for 100 divine years to purify the bones of King Sagara's sons and raise them to heaven. It illustrates the immense purifying power of Ganga. It highlights that bathing in her waters expunges sins accumulated over lifetimes. Ancestors are nourished for 3 years by her waters offered to them. Worship on her banks brings supreme rewards, and ascetics dwelling there attain ultimate extinction and liberation from the cycle of rebirth.
It says, just hearing her name, Goga, Gega, even at a distance of 100 leagues, cleanses all beings of deeds done in 3 previous lives. Wow, it's not just a river. It's a living, purifying cosmic entity imbued with immense divine power. This intricate cosmic design is sustained by a grand celestial collaboration, leading us to the very source of life's sustenance. So ends Chapter 8 in Book 2 of the glorious Vishnu Purana, Chapter 9, the source of rain. Continuing our exploration of the intricate cosmic order, this chapter connects the celestial mechanics directly to life on Earth. The Purana introduces Lord Hari's astral form, Vishnu's form in the heavens, as the dolphin-like Chumara constellation, with Dhruva, the pole star, standing firmly fixed on its tail.
Yeah, this presents a fascinating chain of support, doesn't it? Dhruva, by turning, sets the moon, the sun, and the planets in motion. The constellations follow them, spinning like a wheel around Dhruva, and all are said to be tied to Dhruva with invisible bonds of wind. Narayan, who is the refuge of all worlds, exists in the heavens in this astral form, serving as Sushumara's foundation and being located at its heart. So Janardana, the witness of the world, is Sushumara's support. Sushumara supports Dhruva. Dhruva supports the sun, and ultimately the sun supports the entire universe, including gods, demigods, and mortals. This prompts us to consider, how does this elaborate cosmic structure translate into the very sustenance of life on Earth? How does it all work practically?
That's where the mechanism of rain comes in. The text explains that for 8 months each year, the sun draws up water, which is described as the essence of existence from the earth. It then releases this water to the moon. The moon, in turn, directs this water through aerial channels to the clouds, which are described as being composed of smoke, fire, and wind.
The Buddhist even provides that symbolic name for clouds, apra, because the rains don't fall, or prashanti, all at once. They are held before falling, prashanti. It further emphasizes that the water held in clouds descends unsullied and purified by passing time, highlighting its pristine nature. It's a continuous, pure cycle of water moving from earth to sky and back again.
The lordly sun draws water from 4 primary sources: rivers, oceans, the earth itself, and living things. There's also a special kind of rain described, the aerial Gaga rain. This is water drawn directly from the celestial Gaga by the sun's rays, which then falls to earth without the need for clouds. This water is considered profoundly sacred. A mortal touched by it is cleansed of the stain of his misdeeds, and it's thought to be a divine ablution.
Right, and the text even distinguishes specific types of auspicious rain based on the sun's position relative to lunar mansions, nakshatras. When the sun is in a cloudless sky, or in odd-numbered lunar mansions where the rain is scattered by directional elephants, or even numbered mansions where it's dispersed by the sun itself, these rains are all deemed highly auspicious and are believed to purify sins, further reinforcing the idea of this airborne Gauga as a divine ablution and a gift from the heavens.
So the grand cycle of sustenance unfolds. Rain falling from the clouds nourishes every kind of plant, which then leads to ripe crops for humankind. Men, relying on these crops, perform their proper rites each day and thereby nourish the gods through offerings. It's a perfect reciprocal system, a cosmic food chain almost. In this way, the text states, the sacrifices, the Vedas, the communities with Brahmins as the first, all the assembled deities and herds of bees all depend on rain. It's fundamental.
This chain of interdependence is beautifully reinforced at the end. Rain brings food, the sun gives rise to rain, Dhruva is the sun's support, as Sushumara is of Dhruva, while Shumara depends on Narayan. At Shumara's heart is Naraya, support of every being, primal and eternal. This is a beautiful illustration of how the entire universe is interconnected through the divine, isn't it? From the smallest raindrop to the supreme cosmic Lord, all part of a single, flowing, sustaining energy.
The sun's vital role extends beyond simply providing rain. It is a celestial hub for countless divine beings, as we explore next. So ends Chapter 9 in Book 2 of the glorious Vishnu Purana. Chapter 10, The Carriage of the Sun. Okay, we return now to the sun's incredible journey, detailing its passage through the 180 degrees of the celestial sphere. What's truly remarkable here is the diverse retinue that rides the sun's carriage. Specific deities from the Aditya group, revered sages, Gandharvas, celestial musicians, Apsaras, celestial dancers, Yakas, nature spirits, Nagas, serpent deities, and even Rakshasas, sometimes formidable, sometimes benign beings. A whole crew.
Yeah, what's truly fascinating here is the collaborative nature of cosmic governance that's depicted. It's not just the sun as a lone entity, is it? It's a whole celestial ecosystem working in harmony with different classes of beings, each playing a specific vital role in the sun's daily and monthly journey. It's like a cosmic administration team.
The Purana provides an extraordinary month-by-month breakdown of which specific beings from each category preside over and ride the sun's carriage. It's almost like a cosmic duty roster. For instance, during the month of Kaitramado, part of March-April, the sun's carriage hosts the Daitidada, the Apsaras Katasthala, the sage Pulastya, the Nagavasuki, the Yakarathkat, the Rakahiti, and the Gandharva Tamburu. In Madhava, April-May, it's Ariman, Palaha, Rathaujas, Punjikasthala, Prehiti, Kachinira, and Narada. In Chuchi, May-June, it's Mitra, Atri, Taka, Poroya, Menaka, Haha, and Rathasvana. In Shukra, June-July, it's Varu, Vasiha, Ramva, Sahajanya, Hu, Ratha, and Ratashitra. In Navas, July-August, it's Indra, Vigravasu, Shrotas, Elapatra, Ujiras, Pramloka, and Sarpa. In Hadrapada, August-September, it's Vivasvat, Ugrasin, Bugu, Puratamamtaka, Sukhapaela, and Vira.
In Kartika, October-November, it's Parjanya, Varadvaya, Vishavasu, Airavata, Vishokachi, Senajit, and Kapi, often identified as Vyu or Asha. In Margashen, November-December, it's Ashu, Kashapa, Tarkaya, Mahapadma, Urvashu, Citrasena, and Vijut. In Bhaga, December-January, it's Baka, Kratu, Uryus, Fursha, Karkwaka, Aryanemi, and Purvachiti. In Magha, January-February, it's Dvarya, Jamadani, Kambala, Tilotama, Brahmapata, Tajik, and the Tararara. And finally, in Falguna, February-March, it's Vyon, Ashvatara, Ramva, Suryavarkas, Asejit, Viet, Vishamitra, and Yanjopeta. This intricate dance repeats each month with different sets of these 7 types of beings taking their turn. The text explicitly details their specific roles as well. The sages praise the sun with Vedic hymns, the Gandharvas sing before it, the Apsaras dance, the Rakshasas attend to its needs from behind, the Nagas guide the carriage by preparing the harness, the Yakas hold the reins, and the tiny Valakirya sages surround it on all sides offering prayers. It's a highly choreographed cosmic ballet, a daily performance of cosmic order maintenance.
Exactly. The takeaway here is that each cohort is vital in bringing heat and cold and showers of rain in season. It's a grand celestial orchestra, really, all orchestrated by divine power. It highlights the deeply interconnected and purposeful nature of the cosmos, where every entity, from the greatest deity to the smallest detail, contributes to the ongoing cosmic order and the balance of the seasons on Earth.
This leads naturally to a profound question about the sun's very essence and energy source. So ends chapter 10 in book 2 of the glorious Vishnu Purana, chapter 11, the sun's energy. Okay, so after hearing about the intricate dance of the sun's entourage, the 7 types of beings managing the chariot seasons, Maitreya poses a very pertinent question to Parashara. He asks, basically, if these 7 beings are truly responsible for bringing heat, cold, and rain, and for the sun's apparent rising and setting, then what is the actual function of the sun itself? It's a great question, isn't it? What's the sun doing if everyone else is doing the work?
It is a great question, and this is where the Puri clarifies the ultimate source of power. Parashara's answer is profound. Vishnu's threefold power, known as the Ig, Yajur, and Sama Vedas, warms the world and dispels its sins. This power is Vishnu, dwelling within the sun and actively engaged in the world's upkeep. So the sun isn't just a physical body. It's a divine manifestation, a vessel for the ultimate reality, for Vishnu's energy.
And the Vedic verses themselves are not just abstract texts, they actively operate through the sun. The Vedic verses light the world each morning, the Yajurveda does so at noon, and the Samaveda illuminates the world at sunset. The text notes that the recitation of the Samaveda is considered inauspicious at the moment of dissolution, indicating its association with that transformative, maybe even destructive power. And this energy isn't confined to the sun either. Brahma, creator, and Rudra, dissolver, also share its nature.
It begs the question, why is the Samaveda associated with dissolution? The Purana explains that at the onset of creation, this threefold Vedic energy is Brahma in the form of the Veda. While the world endures and is sustained, it's Vyano as the Yajurveda, and at its dissolution, it's Rudra as the Samaveda. This highlights the dynamic, ever-changing nature of the cosmos, where all processes, creation, sustenance, and dissolution, are powered by Vyu, who manifests differently, or this energy manifests differently for each cosmic function. It's all one energy taking different roles.
So, to reiterate, Vyu's pure and threefold Vedic power invests the sun, causing it to shine brightly and banish darkness from all worlds, even while the 7 beings occupy it. The sages praise, the Gandharvas sing, Apsaras dance, Rakshasas attend, Nagas guide, Yakas hold the reins, and Valakirya seers surround it. The sun itself, then, neither sets nor rises, but is ever filled with Vishnu's power. The 7 beings are all pure, in a sense, but are at once distinct from him. The text uses that mirror analogy. A man sees his reflection, but it's not truly separate. Vishnu's power never leaves the sun.
Yeah, the mirror analogy is key here, isn't it? It articulates the core philosophical point that the various manifestations are not truly separate from the divine essence. They are reflections or aspects of the one reality. The sun's perpetual radiance is a direct expression of Vyun's unchanging power, a concept that applies to all of existence.
In essence, the sun's essential function is that it brings night and day and perpetually wheels over ancestors, gods, and men. The specific solar ray, called Sukuna, is highlighted as the one that nourishes the waxing moon. And when the moon wanes, the deities imbibe its nectar, Soma. Finally, the ancestors drink the last 2 slivers of the moon during Amavasya, new moon, thus being nourished ultimately by the sun, showcasing this complex, energetic exchange between realms.
Exactly. The takeaway here is that the sun is the perpetual provider. It draws moisture from the earth to bring rain, it delights all beings with its light and warmth, and it gives strength and sustenance to ancestors, gods, and humankind through its unending cycle of nourishment. It's the cosmic engine of life, sustained by and embodying the divine power of Vien. It's a continuous, self-renewing source.
This cosmic dance continues as we explore the moon and other planets in more detail. So ends Chapter 11 in Book 2 of the glorious Vishnu Purana. Chapter 12, The Moon and Planets. Okay, we continue our cosmic tour by exploring the moon and other planets more closely. The moon's carriage is described as 3-wheeled, drawn by 10 jasmine-white horses born of water, 5 harnessed to the right yoke, 5 to the left. It traverses the lunar mansions, nakshatras, under the rule of Dhruva, mirroring the sun's journey across the heavens.
Right, and the moon has that fascinating and unique cycle described here. When it wanes, reduced to just one sliver after deities drink its nectar, soma, the blazing sun replenishes it with a specific ray, the Sumamta ray we just mentioned. The moon then draws near the sun when only 2 slivers remain, abiding in a ray called Ama, which is why this phase is known as Amavasya, the new moon. This highlights a crucial interplay between the celestial bodies, a perpetual exchange of energy and essence between sun and moon.
And during that Amavasya phase, the moon first enters the waters and then dwells among plants. The text includes a striking moral implication here. One who cuts a plant while the moon is in that state, or causes a single leaf to fall, is guilty of brahminicide, a serious warning about respecting life during this sensitive phase. And during this phase, a host of ancestors, the Saumyas, Barhyads, and Agnivatas, attend the moon and drink its auspicious nectar, being sustained for the entire month.
This highlights a fascinating cosmic interaction, doesn't it, between celestial bodies and the sustenance of various realms of being, including the ancestors. It ties the cycles of the moon directly to the well-being of the departed, underscoring the profound interconnectedness of all existence and the subtle ways our world is linked to others through these cosmic energies.
The Purana then briefly describes the chariots of other planets, providing distinctive features and the number and type of horses for each. Mercury, Buddha, son of the moon. His chariot is composed of wind and fire, drawn by 8 swift bay horses. Venus, Sukra, rides in a grand chariot with a fender, floor, bench, and banner, drawn by 10 earthborn horses of various hues. Mars, Mangala Angarika, his glorious chariot is drawn by 8 golden, ruby-red, fire-born horses. Jupiter, Bospati, moves in a gold chariot drawn by 8 swift pale or white steeds. Saturn, Sunny, the sluggish one, moves at leisure on a chariot yoked to dappled horses born of air. Svarbhanu, Rahu, the demon associated with eclipses, rides in a chariot drawn by 8 perpetually yoked black bee-like horses. He never rests and causes eclipses by coming between the sun, moon, and earth. Ketu, the descending node, another shadow planet often linked with Rahu, has 8 wind-swift horses, smoke dark or red in color.
And it's reiterated that all these planets, lunar mansions, and constellations are bound to Dhruva by bonds of air and circle in their proper orbits. The analogy used is like workers pressing oil from seeds in a mill, or like a disk of fire being whirled around constant regulated motion. The force that carries the stars is called pravaha, a celestial wind. It's a very sophisticated celestial mechanism described here, where every celestial body plays its part in maintaining cosmic harmony, all anchored to Dhruva.
And within this celestial sphere, we learn more about the Śālmala constellation, the celestial dolphin, or porpoise, where Dhruva stands at the tail. We touched upon it earlier. Its significance is immense. Seeing it is said to free one from misdeeds done by day, and the number of stars seen predicts years of life remaining. The Purana describes its parts anthropomorphically. Uttanapada, Dhruva's father, is its upper jaw, Yajna, sacrifice, its lower jaw, Dharma, duty, its head, Narayan, its heart. The Ashvins are its front feet. Varuda and Aryaman are behind them. Savatsara is its penis, Mitra its anus. Agni, Mahendra, Kashyapa, and Dhruva himself form the tail, a quartet of stars that never set.
This provides a deeply symbolic representation of the cosmic form of the divine, literally embodying the key principles and deities of the universe as a living celestial being. It's a powerful way to convey the sacredness and interconnectedness of the entire cosmos.
The chapter then transitions beautifully to the universal nature of Yo, summarizing that he's the earth, the planets, continents, seas, mountains, stars, worlds, forests, streams, and oceans. He is all that is and all that isn't. This means Vyo is both the manifest and the unmanifest, the formed and the formless.
Right. And this prompts us to consider the nature of reality itself. If Vyo is pure knowledge and has no substance in the material sense, then what are all these distinct forms, mountains, oceans, earth? The Purana addresses this with that profound clay analogy. Clay is shaped into a pot. The pot is broken into pieces, the pieces ground to dust, the dust reduced to atoms. This is clearly seen by folk whose notions are informed by personal experience. But tell me, what is substance? This demonstrates that substance, as we perceive it, is ultimately impermanent and not real in the ultimate sense, being merely an arrangement of elements or atoms. Therefore, except for truest knowledge, there is never anything anywhere. This knowledge is uniform but appears manifold to those who perceive it as differentiated, as the result of the varied nature of their own actions. It's our perception, colored by karma, that creates the illusion of multiplicity.
This affirms that knowledge is pure, unblemished, painless, free from the influence of greed and other faults. It's uniform, ever one, supreme, the highest Lord. It's Vasudeva, other than whom no thing exists. It's the ultimate statement of non-duality.
Exactly. The significance here is that this knowledge, this understanding of non-duality is the ultimate truth, and all else, all differentiation, is considered illusory or false, avidya. Understanding Vasudeva to be firm, unmoving, and unchanging allows one to fulfill their duty without attachment and ultimately enter the divine or achieve liberation. It's a call to perceive the ultimate unity underlying all apparent distinctions.
Now, we shift gears significantly, moving from cosmic geography and celestial mechanics to the profound philosophical dialogues that truly unpack the nature of the self and the path to liberation, starting with the story of Bharata. So, ends chapter 12 in book 2 of the glorious Vyopradusk, chapter 13, Foolish Bharata. Okay, so now we move from the grand sweep of cosmic geography to these deeply personal and philosophical dialogues. We begin by revisiting King Bharata, whom we first met way back in chapter 1. Maitreya poses a crucial question. Bharata, despite his intense devotion to Vasudeva at the sacred place of Śālgrama, was not liberated. He was reborn as a Brahmin. This sets up the central enigma of the chapter. Why did such devotion seemingly not lead to the ultimate goal? What went wrong?
Yeah, what's truly fascinating here is the exploration of the subtle attachments that can prevent ultimate liberation, even for the most devoted individuals. It reveals that spiritual perfection isn't just about outward acts of piety, It's about the inner state of the mind and heart, about what the mind is truly fixed upon, especially at the moment of death.
The text first describes Bharata's initial profound devotion. He reposed in Śālgrama for many years, his heart fixed on the Lord Hari. He uttered only the names of Vishnu, Yajnesha, Lord of Sacrifice, Suta, Infallible, Govinda, Protector of Cow Senses, Madhava, Ananta, Endless, Keshava, Kakisha, Lord of Senses, speaking no others even in his dreams, and thinking of nothing but these names and their significance. He shunned all other actions, intent on austerities and yoga. Sounds perfect, right?
It does sound perfect. The ideal devotee.
However, one day while bathing in the great Gandaki river, he witnessed a dramatic incident. A pregnant doe came to drink, but was startled by the roar of a nearby lion. She leapt from the water in terror, miscarrying her fawn into the river, and then died from the shock and exertion. Bharata, driven by compassion, rescued the orphan, miscarried fawn and brought it back to his ashram, nurturing it daily with tender grass. But as the young deer grew, Bharata became increasingly worried and possessive. He would fret constantly, "Oh no, perhaps it's fallen prey to wolves or tigers or been taken by a lion." His mind became completely absorbed by the deer. He thought of nothing else, losing his peace of mind, despite having renounced his kingdom, his sons, his kin, everything for the spiritual life.
This is such a crucial turn in the narrative, isn't it? Because it highlights how even a seemingly harmless attachment, born initially out of compassion, can become this subtle bondage, this moha or delusion. It completely diverts the mind from the ultimate goal of liberation. It shows that the mind's focus, even on something seemingly pure or virtuous, like caring for an animal, can create entanglement if it's not truly directed towards the ultimate reality, towards the self or God.
And the tragic consequence unfolded at Bharata's death. At his final breath, gazing fondly at the deer nearby, he was utterly obsessed with it, thinking of nothing else. As a result, he was reborn as a deer in the expansive Jambudvīpa forest. But crucially, the text states he could still recall his former life, due to the power of his previous austerities. This unique ability drove him to atone for his past attachment. He left his mother deer and journeyed back towards Śālgrama, living as a renunciate deer, eating only dry grass and leaves, fully aware of his karmic misstep and waiting for the karmic consequence to exhaust itself.
This concept of remembering past lives is so central to the Purachai's teaching on karma and rebirth. It reinforces the idea that true transformation is often a multi-life endeavor, and that the lessons learned, even across different forms of birth, are retained by the soul for its arduous journey towards liberation. His past efforts weren't entirely wasted. They gave him awareness in his deer birth.
Right. After perishing as a deer, he was born again, this time as a Brahmin in a pure, lofty family of virtuous ascetics who followed yoga. And again, remarkably, he recalled his previous existence as both a king and a deer. Having mastered every branch of learning in his previous life and understanding the true purport of all sacred texts, he saw the self, Atman, as lying beyond Prakriti, primordial matter, and its modifications, and the gutas, the three qualities of nature, sattva, rajas, tamas. He viewed all creatures, deities, and the rest as essentially the same, just manifestations of one consciousness. He had the knowledge, yet after a sacred thread ceremony, Upanayana, he intentionally cultivated an appearance of foolishness or idiocy. He refused to participate in Vedic recitation, sacrifices, or further studies. He spoke foolishly in unsanskritic ways, neglected grooming, wore dirty clothes, and was shunned by townsfolk as mad Bharata, saliva sometimes dribbling down his chin, appearing utterly simple-minded and unclean.
Yeah, this prompts us to consider. Why would someone so enlightened, who remembers past lives and understands the self, choose to appear foolish? His reasoning is explained by recalling Grama's words. Praise does great harm to those of self-restraint whose wealth is yoga. Such ascetics, despised by folk, should seek success through practice. Whenever folk abuse them, let them walk away. This is a profound teaching on humility, isn't it? A deliberate strategy to avoid the distractions of praise and the spiritual pitfalls of ego that come with being recognized as a sage or holy man. It's a deliberate detachment from external validation and reputation.
So he led this simple, almost invisible life, eating whatever came to hand, often just half-ripe barley, beans, or wild berries given by others, taking food like an animal. After his father's death, his brothers, mistaking his deliberate simplicity for genuine foolishness, exploited him for labor, sending him to work in the fields, though his limbs proved surprisingly tough and strong. This brings us to a pivotal scene. The king of Savira, named Rahugan, was traveling in a palanquin en route to visit the great sage Kapila by the Ikamati River to learn the highest truth. His chief bearer needed another man. Seeing Bharata nearby, strong, sturdy, but seemingly dim-witted like a beast of burden, they pressed him into service. Bharata, ever mindful of his past karma and seeking to exhaust it, bore the palanquin. But he walked carefully, his eyes fixed only on the length of a yoke ahead, about 4 cubits, trying not to harm any living being, even ants. This made him stumble and walk unevenly. The king, feeling the jerky movement, called out, "Your bearers should all walk in step." When there was no improvement, he laughed and exclaimed, "You're still all out of kilter." The other bearers blamed Bharata.
"Is this fellow here? He's much too slow." The king then directly addressed Bharata, annoyed. "Hey, how can you be tired? You haven't borne my palanquin that far. Can't you take the weight? You look strong enough to me." Bharata's response immediately shifts the ground to the philosophical. "It isn't me who's weak, nor me who bears your palanquin. It isn't me who is fatty, nor me who takes its weight, your majesty." Well, the king insisted, "I see myself that you are strong and bearing the load." Bharata retorted, "Please state exactly what you see in me. My feet are on the ground and they support my shins. My shoulders bear this palanquin, but how can you say the load is mine alone? This body bears it, and another body sits within it."
What's truly fascinating here is Bharata's immediate shift from the physical to the metaphysical. He's dissecting the very concept of agency, identity, and ownership, isn't he? He's breaking down the king's assumptions about who is doing what and who is what by pointing to the ephemeral nature of the body and the universality of the self.
Bharata then delivers his core teaching. The body sitting on the chair is defined as you, but it's not right to say that you are there and I'm here. Both you and I and all the others are composed of elements, determined by the gunchas, qualities that cause action. Karma, accumulated in ignorance, affects all beings. He emphasizes, the self, the Atman, is pure and indestructible, tranquil, lacking qualities, and transcends materiality. It does not wax or wane, but is the same in every being. Since it's beyond decay and growth, your majesty, on what grounds say you that I am strong? He continues with analogies. The shared burden of the palanquin among all bearers, the fact that mountains, trees, and houses all rest on the earth burden is relative. If people's natures were unalike, then I'd agree this load was borne by one or other person. But the stuff that forms this chair comprises you and me and other things, and is composed of elements that are molded by a sense of self. The king's reaction is one of immediate shock and reverence. He quickly gets down from the palanquin and touches Bharata's feet, realizing this is no ordinary bearer. He asks who he truly is, appearing in such a disreputable form like a hidden fire. Bharata's initial answer is still evasive. "I cannot tell you who I am. The act of going anywhere is for the sake of some experience. Pain and pleasure are the source of everybody. Why ask about the reason that I'm here?"
This is such a classic teaching technique, isn't it? To strip away preconceived notions of identity. The very word "e" betrays the fault of seeing a self in something that is without it. Harada is forcing the king to confront the illusion of a separate individual self, demonstrating how identity is often based on superficial labels and roles.
Bharata's deeper explanation of I is profound. It's not the tongue that speaks, nor the teeth or palate. Speech itself is the speaker. The body is made of parts: feet, ankles, shins, knees, thighs, trunk, arms, shoulders, neck. To which part does I apply? When a single primal spirit pervades all bodies, it's vain to ask the questions, who are you and who am I? He uses analogies of the palanquin being an assembly of wood or an umbrella arising from its ribs, all components that don't in themselves constitute the whole essence.
So what does this all mean for our perception of reality? The king, the palanquin, the bearers, the realm, none are really true in an ultimate sense. It's all an assembly of elements, isn't it? Like wood forming a palanquin or ribs forming an umbrella. It's a powerful statement of non-duality, showing that apparent differences are merely conceptual, arising from how we categorize and label things based on function or form.
Bharata uses more analogies. Man, woman, cow, goat, horse, elephant, bird, tree. He says these are mere names assigned to bodies due to karma or accumulated actions. The primal spirit is none of these things. Differences are merely in the shape of forms, caused by prior actions. He challenges the king further. What entity, subject to varied changes, isn't known by other names in time? Things change, names change. He then turns the mirror squarely on the king himself. You're the king, lord of the earth. This is untrue. You are your father's son, your rival's foe, the husband of your wife and father of your son. Who should I say you truly are? And then the ultimate question for the king's self-reflection. Are you this head, or does this head belong to you? Are you the belly? You seem to be apart from all these component limbs. Now that you are better informed, sire, please contemplate the question, who am I? Bharata concludes his discourse by stating that, seeing the truth has been established in this way, how can I speak of I, sire, which is the mere result of a process of differentiation?
This profound encounter completely shifts the king's perspective, leading him to seek a deeper understanding of life's ultimate purpose. So ends Chapter 13 in Book 2 of the glorious Vipam Puro. Chapter 14. Bharata teaches the highest goal. Okay, so after Bharata's profound discourse, demolishing conventional notions of self, the king's reaction is one of deep respect and humility. He bows down, acknowledging that Bharata's words contain the highest truth, but admits his mind is still troubled and perplexed by these profound statements. He feels like he's heard truth, but can't quite grasp it fully. He recognizes Bharata's immense wisdom, believing him to be an aspect of Lord Vishnu himself disguised, and humbly begs to be taught the highest good, the Paramartha.
Yeah, this highlights such a critical point in spiritual inquiry, doesn't it? Intellectual understanding can be gained, the words can resonate, but true wisdom often requires moving beyond the mind's usual patterns of thought and conditioning. The king, despite his intelligence and exposure to profound truths, is still grappling with the implications of non-duality, seeking clarity on how to truly realize it, how to apply it to his life. What is the highest goal, really?
Bharata then begins his discourse by differentiating between what is merely best, Sharyas, and what is truly the highest goal, Paramartha. He explains that best is relative to individual desire, accumulating wealth, achieving prosperity, having sons, attaining sovereignty, or even performing sacrifices that lead to temporary heavenly realms. Fulfilling such desires might be considered best for an individual in that specific context or lifetime. But the highest goal is something entirely different, something permanent and ultimate beyond relative gains.
This prompts us to consider, why are these common pursuits, even virtuous ones, like sacrifices for heaven, not the highest goal? Bharata explains that wealth is often sacrificed for virtue, dharma, desire, kama, is pursued for satisfaction. Even having a son as a highest goal is circular, as that son will also have desires and goals. Transient goals, like winning a kingdom or enjoying heavenly pleasures, cease to be goals once achieved or when the merit runs out. Therefore, they cannot be the ultimate good, as true liberation, the paramartha, must be eternal and unchanging.
He further addresses sacrificial actions. If performed with perishable materials, like kindling, butter, or kusha grass, they will only yield impermanent results, like temporary stays in heaven. The wise understand that the highest goal is permanent, Bharata says, but this would certainly not be true if it depended on impermanent materials. Even ritual action performed without desire for reward, nikama karma, while leading to liberation from immediate karmic consequences and purification, is still considered a means to an end. And Farditha states that the highest goal is not a mere means to achieve anything else, it is the end. Similarly, meditation on the self that divides the self from others, seeing oneself as separate but trying to unite, is also rejected, because the highest goal yields no such divisions. The idea of a union of spirit in oneself is also declared false, because one kind of substance cannot become another, emphasizing that the self is already one, not something separate that needs to be joined. It's about realization, not joining.
So, what does this all mean for us? It means that even the most virtuous actions or meditations, if they are still rooted in a dualistic perception, subject-object, self-other, or lead to temporary results, do not constitute the ultimate highest goal. The highest goal is not a process or a destination to be achieved, but a realization of what already is. Farditha reveals the true highest goal, or paramartha. It is the self, unitary, pervading, constant, pure, unqualified, immaterial, free from birth and aging, and the rest, universal and unchanging. This is the essence of non-dualistic wisdom, isn't it? It comprises highest wisdom, paramarjana, and is unyoked to falsehood, name, or lineage across time. The form of knowledge that exists as one in each and everybody is the highest goal. The dualist view is incorrect. It's the realization of this underlying unity.
And to illustrate this, Farditha uses that beautiful analogy of the flute. Just as a single current of air is divided into notes such a, and the rest on passing through the body of a flute, the unity of this great spirit is divided into varied forms under the sway of external factors, like the form of gods, humans, animals, etc. The individual notes are distinct, but the air that creates them is one and the same.
This is a truly profound aha moment presented here. When the difference between the deities and the rest is removed, no distinction between high and low remains. It's the realization of a fundamental, undivided unity underlying all apparent diversity, leading to true impartiality, samatha, and freedom from judgment and attachment. That state is the highest goal.
This profound wisdom continues to unfold as Farditha relates the teachings of another great sage, Pu. So ends Chapter 14 in Book 2 of the glorious Vishnu-Purana. Chapter 15. O's Discourse on the Highest Truth. Building on Farditha's teachings about the highest goal being the realization of the unitary self, the next chapter introduces U's Discourse. Farditha himself imparted this story to King Rahugan, creating this effective teaching within a teaching structure. Ufu, described as a mind-born son of Lord Brahma, inherently understood reality and joyfully taught all knowledge to his disciple, Nidagha, who was a scion of the sage Pulastya.
Yeah, what's truly fascinating here is the cyclical nature of spiritual teaching depicted. Masters returning to guide their disciples, sometimes over vast spans of time in this case, 1,000 divine years. It underscores the patience and persistence required in the pursuit of ultimate truth, and that the teachings themselves are timeless and need repeated reinforcement until fully realized.
Indeed. The text tells us that after this first 1,000 divine years, Ofu journeyed to Nidagha's city, Viranagara, situated by the Dvīka River. He arrived unrecognized, appearing as a simple Brahmin. Nidagha, now an expert in ritual and yoga himself, was performing rites outside the city. He welcomed the stranger hospitably, washed his feet, offered him water, and invited him to dine once the rites were concluded. What's surprising, though, is Ofu's explicit request for specific food. He states he finds no pleasure in inferior cuisine and requests something sweet like sayava cakes, wheat cakes fried in ghee and dipped in milk sugar, rice pudding, or dishes made with curds and treacle over simpler fare like barley cakes. He seems quite picky for a sage.
This immediately prompts an interesting question, doesn't it? Why would an enlightened master, one who understands the non-duality of everything, be so particular about food? Why express preference? This sets the stage perfectly for the profound lesson he is about to impart, using the seemingly mundane interaction about food preferences to challenge conventional perceptions and demonstrate a deeper truth about attachment and detachment.
Right. Nidagha, eager to please his guest, has his wife prepare the requested sweets and serves Ob with devotion. After Ob finishes eating, Nidagha politely asks him if he is satisfied, if he liked the food, and if his mind is well pleased. He also asks the standard questions for a guest. Where are you residing, sir? Where do you plan to travel? And what is the reason for your visit? Uva's answers immediately challenge Nidagha's conventional understanding and assumptions. On satisfaction, hunger. Hunger arises when the element of earth in the body has been digested, Hu explains. When the body loses moisture, folk get thirsty. Hunger and thirst are attributes of the body, not the self. He continues, satisfaction to die pertains to the mind. Because I'm not subject to thirst or hunger, I'm always satisfied. He adds that mental states like well-being are natural to the mind, but the spirit is eternally pure consciousness, untouched by these. So such questions should be asked of one whose mind is prone to fluctuation, not the unchanging self. On location identity. Since this spirit, Atman, is everywhere and pervasive like the sky, how can questions such as why and whence and whither be meaningful? He states flatly, I neither come nor go, nor do I reside in a particular place. You're not you, others are not themselves, and I'm not me. A complete dismantling of separate identity and location. On food, caste and partiality. What is sweet or bland to one who eats the food? Sweet food loses its appeal when you don't desire it. Tasteless food is still delicious to a man who's hungry. He explains that food, whether tasty or bland, is ultimately just earth atoms strengthening the earth elements of the body. Hunger makes food tasty. Satisfaction makes even sweet food lose appeal. There's no inherent tastiness. He concludes, when you've therefore understood this false distinction between bland and tasty, then your mind will be impartial, and impartiality leads to liberation.
Wow. This is particularly striking because Ab uses the seemingly mundane act of eating and preference to teach the highest non-dual truth. The true self is beyond all dualities, including taste, hunger, location, and even identity. His point about impartiality, samatha, being the key to liberation, is the core insight here. When one sees all experiences and substances as ultimately undifferentiated, the mind becomes free from attachment and aversion, which are the roots of suffering and bondage.
Nidaga's realization is immediate and profound. He recognizes the depth of this teaching, throws himself to the floor, grasps Sufu's feet, and begs for mercy, saying, "Have mercy, sir. Reveal who you are," speaking words filled with the highest wisdom. Wuben reveals himself. "I'm your teacher, Fu, and I came to teach you Brahman because of your past service to me. I've imparted the highest truth, the essence of reality, and now I'll set out again." He then gives the core message, succinctly delivered. Understand that all this world is one and undivided, and is just a form of the highest spirit known as Vasudeva. Nidaga, filled with faith, bows and worships Uvu as his guru, seeing him no longer as just a Brahmin guest, but as the embodiment of wisdom, who then departs.
This is the core message, succinctly delivered, a powerful moment of transmission.
But the lesson wasn't quite complete, it seems. A final, pivotal encounter awaits Nidaga. So ends Chapter 15 in Book 2 of the glorious Vishnu Purana. Chapter 16. Bu's discourse continues. Okay, the story of Bu and Nidaga concludes here. After another 1,000 divine years had passed, Bu, desiring to impart further wisdom on non-duality, returned again to Viranagara. This time he found Nidaga outside the city. The king was entering with his army and retinue, causing a great crowd. Nidaga, wanting to avoid the throng and apparently hungry, was standing apart, returning from the forest with firewood and sacred kusha grass.
The repetition of the visit and the setup with Nidaga again in this seemingly ordinary, even inconvenient situation really emphasizes the persistence of the teacher and the depth of the lesson required for true, lived understanding. It shows that the truth isn't just a one-time intellectual grasp, is it? It's a lived realization that often needs reinforcement and testing in the midst of everyday life.
I will approach Nidaga, again unrecognized, and asked, "Why are you standing alone here?" Nidaga explained, "There's a huge crowd because the king is entering the city. I'm avoiding it, that's why I'm here alone." Dav then asked, "Which is the king in this crowd, and which are his attendants?" Nidaga, pointing, replied, "Well, the king is the one mounted on that sacred raging elephant, tall as a mountain peak, and the others surrounding him are his attendants." Still pressing for a definition beyond mere appearance and relative position, Avu said, "You've shown me the elephant and the king together, sir, but you haven't said which features may distinguish them. Tell me which one is the elephant and which is the king." Nidaga, still relying on position and perhaps a bit exasperated, replied simply, "Sir, the elephant is the one below. The one on top is king. Anyone can see the difference between the carrier and the carried." Av then delivered his final pivotal question, challenging the very concept of below and on top. "Yes, I understand below and on top, but kindly tell me, what's meant by the word below, and what's the meaning of on top in this context you've defined?"
This is the climax of the teaching, isn't it? Where Nidaga's response becomes the breakthrough moment. Instead of giving another verbal explanation, he enacts the truth, demonstrating it in a way that transcends mere words or relative descriptions.
Yes. Upon hearing Abhu's final, seemingly obtuse question, Nidaga suddenly, without hesitation, leapt onto Kuvu's back. He cried out, "Listen, and I'll tell you what you asked. I'm on top of you, just like the king is on the elephant, and like the elephant, you're below me. I'm giving you this practical demonstration to help you understand what you asked. Devu's final, profound question then shattered Nidaga's last vestiges of conventional perception. Excellent. But if you are like the king and I am like the elephant, according to your analogy, then kindly tell me, which of us am I, Devu, and which is you, Nidaga?
This is the ultimate aha moment for Nidaga. He immediately realizes the import of the question and who is asking it. He instantly jumps down, falls at Hu's feet, and declares, "You must be my master, the venerable Uku, because, as the text says, none other than my master has a mind so perfectly impressed by the unity of all things, untouched by duality." This is the ultimate lesson of non-duality, delivered experientially. The distinction between I and you, top and bottom, king and elephant, teacher and student, vanishes when the underlying reality is seen as one. It's an experiential understanding of the self as universal, beyond all roles and positions.
Hu then confirms his identity and gives the ultimate instruction, the essence of the highest truth. Because you served your teacher well, your mind was open to this teaching on non-duality. Know that all this is one, Vasudeva, the highest spirit, without a second. Perceive this truth and be at peace. The text then describes Nidaga's final liberation. Having been taught by Uhu, he came to realize the unity of everything. He saw no distinction between himself and other creatures. He saw the highest Brahman everywhere and reached final liberation. Nirvat. So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Parashara's concluding instruction to King Rolugan, and implicitly to us, is key. Thus taught by Bharata, the king abandoned his mistaken view of difference, Parashara says. He instructs the king, and us, to look upon yourself, your friends and foe, as one, your majesty, while realizing that the self, the Atman, is all-pervading. Just as the one sky looks white or blue or other colors due to external factors or limitations of sight, the single self appears divided only to those whose perception is imperfect, clouded by differentiation and ignorance, avidya. It's a powerful call to abandon the delusion of separateness, to see beyond the superficial distinctions that divide us, and to recognize the one consciousness animating all forms.
And this leads to the final, powerful philosophical statement of this entire section, delivered by Bharata and relayed by Parashara. That single entity, all that's in this world, is unfailing Vyun. Aside from him, there's nothing. He is me, and he is you, and he is all of this. Abandon the delusion that the self is still divided.
With this ultimate teaching, King Rakugan becomes enlightened, perceiving the highest truth. And King Vartha, having recalled his former lives and imparted this wisdom, finally wins freedom from rebirth, attaining liberation. The Purana assures us that a pure-minded individual who tells or hears this pithy tale of Bharata and the king, while filled with true devotion, will not mistake the nature of the self, and will be fit for freedom from samsara, the endless cycle of rebirth. Thus concludes the major symbolic and narrative revelations of Book 2 of the glorious Vyum Purana. Wow, what an incredible journey we've taken through Book 2 of the Vyum Purana. We've navigated a vast layered cosmos, haven't we? From the intricately divided continents and their unique qualities, oceans of syrup and wine, to the surprisingly magnificent lower realms and the truly challenging specific hells. We ascended through the celestial spheres, charting the precise movements of the sun, moon, and planets, and understanding the cosmic dance, powered by Vedic sound and divine beings, that sustains all life. And then we plunged into those profound philosophical dialogues, learning about King Vartha's winding path to liberation, and the ultimate non-dual teachings of Hu and Nidaka, all guided by the wisdom of this ancient text. It covered so much ground.
Indeed. The key takeaways from this deep dive are truly transformative, I think. The interconnectedness of absolutely everything, from the pole star to the smallest creature. The karmic significance of our actions, especially here in Bhartavarta, the land of action. The purifying power of divine remembrance, just thinking of Hari. And, maybe most profoundly, the ultimate non-dual truth that everything is a manifestation of Vitunu, the one self, Vasudeva. Placing this in the bigger picture, Book 2 is really a comprehensive guide not just to the outer world, the cosmos, but to the inner landscape of understanding and liberation. It shows how the physical cosmos mirrors the spiritual truths we seek.
A crucial detail emerges here, doesn't it? The core message, perhaps, of this whole deep dive. The idea that the seemingly separate I that we often identify with is, in the end, a mere result of differentiation, of seeing things as separate, and that true freedom lies in abandoning the delusion that the self is divided. It's a powerful call to see beyond the superficial distinctions and perceive the underlying unity that binds all things together.
Which prompts an important question for you, the listener. How might recognizing the unity of all things, as taught in this ancient text, shift your own perception? Your perception of yourself, of others, of the world around you? How might it change the way you interact with your environment and with those you encounter if you truly, deeply believe in that underlying unity, that Vasudeva is all?
Thank you for joining us on this truly cosmic and deeply philosophical deep dive into Book 2. It's been quite something. Perhaps the greatest journey isn't across continents of Jambudvīpa or Plakṣa or through the celestial spheres up to Satyaloka, but the journey inward, to realize the one unchanging self that is both you and the entire universe. Until next time, keep exploring.